What's going on, guys? My name is Dizzy, and today I'm going to be showing you my updated guide for settings in Apex Legends Season 27. We're going to be going over a lot of different things in this video, so I'll leave timestamps down in the description below. Start off in the Steam launch options, actually. If you open up Steam, you don't know where to find this, you can head over to your library, and you can click on Apex, right-click it, press Properties, and it's going to bring you, it's going to pop open this. And you'll just stay on the general tab. Your launch options are going to be right here. These are your options to basically have the game open faster, be able to force your max FPS, be able to skip the intro animations, just things inside of the game that don't need to be there that are destroying your FPS and or are maybe limiting your FPS. So basically we're just going to start off here in the general tab for the launch options. Basically we have plus FPS underscore max. I have mine set to 120 as I record all my videos and 120 FPS for montages and just regular videos in general. So I hard cap at 120 because I also stream and I don't want to overload my graphics card. I have a 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte, and if you have something less than that and you're trying to record at high FPSs or just record and stream in general, I would cap your frames at around 120 to 144, as you're probably not going to get above that anyways with the newer seasons of Apex. If you are not recording and you are not streaming, you can leave this at, instead of 120, you'll just put it to 0, so then it uncaps the engine, and I think the uncap for the engine goes up to 300. It could potentially go up to more, but from what I've seen, it caps at 300. Or you can put it to 240, or you could put it to 145. Whatever number you want this to be, I would just type that number into it. Make sure to leave just one single space. And after every single thing you put in here, you always want to put a space, so then it acts as if it's something new. Most of these are just going to be skipping the intro animations, making sure that the game is using as many threads as it needs to be using, depending on your CPU. Currently, I have a Ryzen 9 5950X, which has 16 cores and 32 threads. Currently, I have this set to use 12 threads. Any more than this, and it can lag out the game. Any less than this, and it can underuse my CPU, which can make the game stutter really badly. Um, I would say if you have an 8-core 16-thread processor, I would put this down to 8. If you have a 16-core 32-thread processor, I would put this to 12. I wouldn't put this higher than 12. I wouldn't put it lower than 12 if you have that high of a processor. And if you only have 6 cores, 12 threads, I would probably put this to about 5 to 6. Or I wouldn't put this at all. I would kind of let the game do its thing. But I would say if you have a Ryzen 7 or better, I would put this to 8 or 12, depending on which series you have. The Ryzen 7, of course, would have 8, and the Ryzen 9 would have 12. And there's also one inside of here. It might be this first one here. Whenever you knock somebody, it puts up a flare right on their body. It's going to be bright. It's going to be red, so then you know that you actually knocked them. It's really useful for new players to the game that maybe look away too soon while shooting somebody, thinking that they might have knocked them. I will make sure to leave those down in the description below, so then you guys can just copy and paste them in there. If you guys need to go back in this or have any questions, make sure to put them down in the comments below. This is going to be our next section, probably the most important section of them all. So for starters, if you guys need to figure out or don't know where to find either of these, we are going to open up our File Explorer. You can just type it in your Windows, File Explorer, open that up, and you will find your main drive, the one that has your Windows on it, and the one that says Users. So what you'll do is you'll click Users, you'll click your name, and then you'll scroll down and you'll click Saved Games, and then you'll find Respawn. Double click Respawn, Apex, and there's going to be 2 folders here. We're going to need both of those folders. So we'll start on local first. Local is going to give us our video config and our settings. The settings we're not really going to need to touch, but the video config, this is the big one. This is where we're going to change all of our settings to make sure that the game is not overloading our system. It's not giving us random shadows that we don't need, because shadows in Apex are terrible. They are not utilized or useful in any way, shape, or form. Firstly, what you're going to do is you're going to right click, you're going to press properties, and this little box here, you're going to uncheck it, read only, and you're going to press apply. If this is already unchecked, then you're good. You don't have to press apply. You can just press OK. Double click this to open it. It's going to open it, or it's going to ask you to open it, or it might automatically open it. And you're just going to tell it to open in Notepad, or you can press open with Notepad. That will open it over here inside this tab. It may look different, but it's basically going to be roughly the same. So the main things here that you want to focus on are going to be your shadows, like your shadow settings, cascade settings, CMS coverage, CSM enabled, your resolutions, and your stream memory. These are all the biggest parts over here to make sure that your game is running as optimized as possible while still looking visually appealing to the eye and not awful. Because I see a lot of pro players and a lot of just normal players that want the best FPS possible, but their game looks terrible. And that doesn't help if you're trying to make videos, or if you just want the game to look good in general so you can actually see people. Um, so I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. Settings, CL, Gib, allow, set that to 0. Particle, fallback, base, set that to 3. Fallback multiplier, set that to 2. Ragdoll count, set this to 0. This is a huge one. This is if somebody dies in front of you, you don't have a body just sitting there on the death box or falling for 30 seconds to a minute, ruining your FPS, because the ragdolls in this game are terrible. They will destroy your FPS for some reason. Ragdoll self collision, turn this to 1. Turn this to 1. MIP linear, 0. Okay. So this next one, stream memory. This one's a little bit more difficult. If you want, I would set this to 512,000 or 512,000. This right here will allow your graphics card to utilize just enough to keep the game running stable without crashing the game. Which means your graphics card will be able to run at max and still be able to run other things on your PC. So for instance, I'm streaming and I'm recording at the same time. My graphics card can still utilize both of those and give it the resources that it needs to be able to record, and still be able to give the game everything that it needs to be able to maintain the 120 FPS that I need for my 120 FPS recordings. Now, I am using a 240 hertz monitor, and do I see a difference between running my game at 120 FPS versus 240? Not really. I am an ex-pro player. I've 1v3'd 1v6 pro teams on 60 hertz monitors back in the day for Apex, and never once have I ever been like, oh yeah, you need 240 hertz. You really don't. Nowadays, maybe, because everybody's on like 540 hertz monitors and they're crazy cracked at the video game. But to be honest with you, you can pick up a controller and you can go pro next week if you want to at this point. But to be honest with you, 512, 3 extra zeros at the end, should work perfectly. If your game starts to stutter, lag, or anything, try lowering this. I would possibly go maybe 100,000 lower at a time. You could try 50,000 at a time. You can also ask ChatGPT. It would know based off of your graphics card. Remember, this specific setting here is solely based off your graphics card and how much memory it's allowed to use. So if your graphics card has 8 gigs of VRAM, I'm pretty sure this is going to be using about 5 gigs. Is not really what you want if you're going to be recording at the same time, or if you're going to be watching videos in the background, or if you have other tasks open that you're trying to do. So I would try lowering this to around 300,000. But like I said again, you could try and ask ChatGPT or look it up online. There's probably plenty of posts that will tell you what the good amount this would be, but I would start here around 512,000. The pick map, I would put this at 0. Particle CPU level 0. This is just how much particles your CPU will render and stuff. You don't need particles in this game. The more particles, the worse your game's going to be, especially when like a Gibraltar alt's coming down or something that's like really heavily picking up the map. And what I mean by that is, for instance, you're like in a sandy part of the map and someone's shooting the ground, you have all those particles going up in your face. This will minimize that to as much as humanly possible, which is good because it reduces visual clutter too. Create model decal 0, decal 0. Load switch scale 0.6. Shadow enabled 0. So this is where we're going to start getting into more shadows. Shadows are not useful at all in this video game. Not one single bit. You will never have a moment in this video game where you will notice that somebody's there or just be like, oh yeah, I needed that shadow to be able to see that dude better. No, 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 no. Every single scenario that you're in, a shadow is going to ruin not only your perspective, because being able to see somebody that's basically wearing a black skin pasted against a black wall inside of a black corner is going to be impossible. Versus turning off all your shadows, now that corner is more gray or brown. I would say like a lightish grayish brown. And they're going to have, let's say, a black skin on. Now you'll be able to see, oh, that's a black pixel pasted onto, basically, it's going to be like a black pixel pasted onto a white wall, or almost like this. Like if I were to type here, you can see this is white on black, just vice versa that, just black on white. And that's basically what removing shadows is going to do. It's going to highlight the enemy better for you. Shadow min depth 0, 0 again. Shadow max dynamic 0. SSAO, disable this. Once again, just ruins performance. Not needed at all. SSAO downsample 3. This doesn't need to change because you already have it disabled. DVS enable 0. Okay, so this is the next part that we're going to get into that is also very GPU dependent. But to be honest with you, GPU frame time min, start with these values. Start at 15,000 for your min, 16,500 for your max. This should work for like 90% of cards. I used to have a 3060, a 3060 Ti, and now I have a 4060 Ti. And this has worked perfectly on all of those cards. I've even had it on a 1050 Ti, I believe, or a 1060, whatever my last card was. Um, Before my 3060s, and this worked perfectly fine on those, and it increases performance a lot. Sound volume, you can keep this at whatever you want. I've seen inside of the game that footstep audio sounds exactly the same, whether you're at 50% or 100%. But anything lower than 40%, and that's where you'll start to tell a difference between, okay, this is starting to get really quiet. So I normally keep my in-game audio at 50%. I am using the SteelSeries Arctis Nova Pros. Uh, and I have a custom tuned equalizer to be able to hear footstep audio better. If you guys want this, I can always give it to you guys. I mean, this is it here, and I also use spectral audio, which is just 7.1 surround sound. I have gain boosters, bass boosters, everything to kind of tune Apex to make it sound the best and be able to hear people even if they're slowly crouch walking up on you or there's a full team about to 3-2-1 you. You can hear them maybe the slightest little footstep forward. uh, this is probably the best Apex EQ for a SteelSeries headset, and you don't even have to have a SteelSeries headset to use this EQ. You can still use SteelSeries Sonar with any headset. So if you guys want this, I can Just ask for it in the comments and I'll give you a link to it because I can always just export it and give it to you. And that will allow you to be able to hear footsteps better in the game because I know people have a lot of problems with footsteps in this game. Um, and then so now we'll get back into this. So the display width, this is just going to be your monitor. Most people are going to have 1920 and then 1080. I have a 1440p OLED monitor from Asus, so I'm just going to keep this at 1440p. Um, do keep in mind, Apex is not the most optimized game, so running it in 1440p, unless you have something like a 4080 or higher, you're probably not going to get past 120 FPS. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten myself to around 240 FPS on 1440p when I wasn't recording, when I wasn't streaming, and I had just about everything closed on my PC that I didn't need running. Um, but even then, I still saw huge dips, especially on maps like Olympus, especially this season. Olympus is very unoptimized for some reason. Um, but I would just change this to whatever your monitor is. It should already be set that way. Um, and then next we'll go into windowed border. I set this to 1. I always keep my game in bordered full screen, or it's like bordered exclusive or something like that. Um, you can change this to be in full screen. I changed this to bordered mode because it's easier when you're streaming and recording and constantly tabbing in and out of your game, so it doesn't keep flashing. And then on top of that, I have barely seen ever any performance uh, boost between borderless and full screen. If anything, I've maybe seen like a 10 FPS boost, if that. And that's like on the high end. Like the ultimate high end is a 10 FPS boost. So to be honest with you, if you just want ease of use, keep it in borderless. You'll be able to transition between your other monitor very, very quickly and easily. Be able to tab in and out of the game without having to worry about, oh, if I tab out right now, I won't be able to get back in time if my team gets in a fight. Full screen, 0. Like I said, these can change depending on if you want your game in full screen or not. If you want in full screen, change this 0 to a 1. If you don't want in full screen, change this to a 0 and change this to a 1. You know, vice versa. Default res, this is going to be your monitor again. Volumetric lighting, 0. Volumetric fog, 0. And vertical sync, 0. These are huge performance killers. These will destroy your FPS. Volumetric lighting and volumetric fog just add a nonsense of just light and just visual clutter that you don't need, and it's just particle effects. All Apex uses is particle effects, and particles, the more there are, the heavier load it is going to be on your CPU and GPU, mainly your GPU, because that's Apex utilizes your GPU more than your CPU in this case. So it's just stressing out your graphics card, and you don't need this because it's just, like I said, more visual clutter. Vertical sync, you don't need it unless you want to hard cap your FPS and make it where your screen doesn't tear and you like it for some reason. Don't know why you would like this. 9 out of 10 times your screen is not going to tear at all, so it's going to be worthless. And vertical sync in Apex sucks because they don't have it tuned right. Don't know why. Just respawn devs. Back buffer count 2. Uh, Anti-alias mode 0. You don't need this turned on. All it does is makes the game look blurry from a distance. If you know you're like, why is my game always so blurry? This is the reason why. Turn this off. Anti-aliasing, yes, makes it where things don't look so jagged, but it also destroys the quality of the actual video itself, or like the game itself. Um, you're you may not like it at first, but trust me, give it like a day of playing and you'll get used to it and you'll enjoy it more because you'll actually be able to see people from a distance and they won't be so blurry. CMS enabled, turn this to 0, CMS coverage 0, and CMS cascade res all 0. This is all your shadows in game. There's multiple different layers of shadows in this game. So there's your heavy shadows, there's your base shadows, and then there's your layered shadows on top of those to give it the illusion, oh yeah, this is a darker corner and a little bit further away is a little bit lighter. This will turn every last shadow in the game off just about. There are still going to be some that are most likely going to be turned on in certain spots, but you won't really notice them, or they'll be super, super light to where it doesn't matter. And then all the dark places that you saw before that were super dark are now going to be just light enough to where you can see somebody sitting in them. Next, we have fade distance scale. I just have this set to 1. I think this is more of a newer setting, if I'm not mistaken. New shadow settings, 0 once again. And dynamic streaming budget, 2. In-game gamma. This is a big one. I think that if you're going to turn off all your shadows and you want things to be a little bit brighter and be able to see in more darker places, turning this to 0.85 with 4 zeros at the end is perfect. It's not too bright and it's definitely not too dark. It's like the perfect balance, right there. I would say just above the middle to where everything is just bright enough to where no matter what skin they're wearing or where they're sitting, you can always see right where they are. If you guys need to go back through this, you can just replay the video. Like I said, again, I'll leave timestamps down below from the start to the end. We're going to get into the profile config, which if you just go profile, you can just click here. Once again, you'll press properties, turn off read only, press apply, press OK, and then you'll open it up. All this is going to do is, this is kind of an optional setting. I have my FOV in game set to 120. I've had that set in place since I basically have switched over to PC like 5 years ago, for Apex, since like season 5. Um, so I set, if you want to set it to 120 FOV, you're just going to go to CL underscore FOV scale and you're going to set it to 1.7. Technically the highest in game is 110. So the bar in game will always say 110, but your FOV will be 120. Basically, when your guys are done with this, you can just click the X. You can right click properties. Make sure to recheck the read only box. Press apply. Press OK. Go back to this video config. Right click properties. Recheck read only. Press apply. Press OK, and that will just tell Apex when it opens to only read the new settings that you gave the game. You can open up the NVIDIA app and you're going to go to drivers. You're going to make sure that you have the game ready driver, not the studio. And then I'll just hit like a quick refresh to make sure you don't have any updates. And then secondarily, you're going to go over to system. So currently, right now, I have G-Sync enabled on my monitor as I've seen huge performance increases with this. It also allows my GPU and my monitor to be synced together perfectly to produce the 120 FPS that I need for my game to look smooth. Technically 240. And then what you'll do is you'll just make sure that's turned on here if it's available, and always make sure, even if you're doing only 120 FPS in game, or you want your game capped at 120 or 144 or something like that, to always keep your monitor at the highest refresh rate that it can possibly be, because it's always going to look better. You may think, oh, well, if my game's in 120, shouldn't I cap my monitor at 120? Technically, no, because putting it to 240 allows your monitor to refresh faster, which means that you'll have those pixels update faster, even if your game's at 120, which will make things look smoother, and not so choppy. And then next, go to color, set it to NVIDIA, and then I would make sure you have everything at the highest it can possibly be, full color, not limited, RGB, 10-bit instead of 8-bit, if you're able to. Like I said, I have an OLED monitor, so it may be different for you. And then digital vibrance, anywhere between 65 to 75% is really, really good. It helps boost the colors in game and allows you to see people a lot better, so it's not so grayscaled, I would say. And then you can also turn up gamma to like 1.1. Is the highest I would possibly go on that, because you already turned up the gamma in the settings for Apex. Then you can go to video, make sure that super resolution and HDR are turned off. These are just going to ruin performance. And then if you want to, you can always optimize, do automatic tuning for your graphics card. This could take up to an hour or two sometimes. And this will allow your uh, system to maximize the graphics card's capabilities. After that, you can just close that, and then you're going to open up your NVIDIA Control Panel. So this is the biggest one. First, we are going to start at the top. We're going to do adjust image settings with preview. You're going to do use the advanced 3D settings, and then you're going to press take me there. So I'm just going to quickly scroll through this. You can just copy what I have here. This is the best settings possible that I have found to make Apex run at its smoothest and highest FPS possible. So I'm just going to slowly go through it here. Okay. And so basically, and if any of these settings you do not have or you are unsure of, because maybe I have something that's different that you don't have, ask me in the comments down below. I would be more than happy to help you figure out if it's the right option, if it needs to be turned on, needs to be turned off, or what option needs to be chosen. But yeah, let me know. Change resolution. Go to each of your monitors, mainly your main monitor, and instead of, so for instance, here you'll see like Ultra HD, HD, SD. You're going to want to find where it says PC and then click on the resolution, as this will allow you to use the highest refresh rate possible. Versus if I go and click like here, it will not allow me to use the highest refresh rate possible. It'll allow me to use the lowest. So always keep it here. I keep this monitor at 60 hertz just because I don't need to utilize the 70. And then the other option will be use the NVIDIA color. We already did this, so you probably don't need to touch this. Just make sure to press apply down in the bottom once you change this. And then we're going to go to adjust desktop color settings. This we already changed to, so just digital vibrance 65 to 75 around there. If you have a much older monitor, I'd say like anything 5 years or older, you can always turn it up to 85%, but I wouldn't go anything higher than that just because it's going to start to distort the colors and make things not look proper. Next, we will go to adjust desktop size and position. So this one is huge. So your main monitor, you are going to set it to full screen, perform scaling on the GPU, not display, and your resolution is going to be the highest possible for your monitor. So for instance, mine will be 2560 by 1440, and then make sure that your refresh rate is set to the highest possible, and then press apply if it tells you to. And then same thing with your other monitor, except your other monitors that you're using for side work, keep them on aspect ratio to perform scaling on the display, not the GPU. Keep them at the highest resolution they can go to, and then probably the lowest hertz, just so your graphics card isn't getting overloaded. Next, you can set up the G-Sync if your monitor allows it. If it does, I highly advise using it. I've only seen performance pluses from using it. Uh, so if you don't see any performance pluses or it actually like hinders your performance a lot, I would turn it off. But if you do end up enabling it, make sure you enable it for windowed and full screen because like, for instance, my Apex is in windowed mode. So I need to make sure that the G-Sync is also working for the game when it's in that. And then enable for selected devices. So, and then we can head over to adjust video color settings. This is a big one that a lot of people don't know about. When you're here, you'll probably just see color. You can click on advanced and make sure that this is set to full color range and not limited color range. This will allow you to see a lot more colors on your monitor and just do it for both of them. And then you can go to adjust video image settings. So, and then edge enhancement using video settings, I put this to around 40% and noise reduction to around 51%. This just makes it where everything just looks cleaner, more crisp, not so staticky. And that's about it for the NVIDIA Control Panel. If you guys have any questions on anything, leave them down in the comments down below. We're going to open up Apex itself, and I will go into the settings and show you guys what needs to be changed. Okay, now that we're inside of the game, as you can see, it instantly skipped the intro cinematic and just lets you right into the game. So you don't have to sit there and watch it every single time. So basically what we'll do is we are going to go to our settings here, and we're going to start on gameplay. So I'm just going to go through everything, show you guys the settings that I use. I've used these since I was a pro player. I still use them as a content creator now. And these are everything that most pros are going to end up using anyways, just because they are the best settings possible for the game to be able to not have as much visual clutter, be able to just see things, and have your frames just be higher. So first we're going to start with interact prompt style. We're going to put this to compact, as you don't need to see the description of a weapon, basically, is what this is going to do. And just a bunch of other different things. Button hints, turn this off. You don't need to see how to use your ability. You've probably played the game before. Maybe if you're brand new to the game, you can keep this on for a little bit until you learn your keybinds. But to be honest with you, I would turn this off as soon as possible, as like I said, it's just more visual clutter. Crosshair damage feedback. Turn this all the way off. It is not useful, not helpful at all. You know if you hit somebody because you're going to see damage numbers anyways. All this does is adds more visual clutter, so then you can't see what you're actually shooting at, because it's going to put these little tiny X's and stuff all over your screen whenever you're shooting at somebody, and you're not going to be able to notice really what you're shooting at. The second I turned this off back in the day, I instantly got better because I was actually able to see the dude and be able to track better. This will really help if you're really bad at tracking, because you'll actually be able to see the dude moving back and forth in front of you instead of a little X popping up every 2 seconds because you're shooting the dude. Next, damage numbers. I put this to stacking. So then when you're done shooting somebody, it shows you the total number you hit them for. So for instance, if I shoot somebody 140, instead of it saying, oh, you hit the dude for 14 damage, because that's what my last bullet was, it will show me what my total was, and it'll say, oh, you hit him for 147 damage. So then I know, okay, I can tell my teammates, oh, I hit him for 147. He's like, 18 HP or 16 HP, whatever it may be. Or for instance, if they have white armor, that's 6 HP, makes it to the 150. Enemy health bar, enable this. Basically, when you shoot somebody nowadays, this is a new setting. It will show the health bar above their head, and it will also show it for your teammates too. So then you can see if somebody's low. So then you know if you need to push them. If they're gonna start healing, whatnot. It just, I guess, helps you engage better into fights because you know what you're dealing with. For your pings, I put them to faded. For me, it helps more with visual clutter. If my teammate is constantly pinging the enemy, it still allows you to see the ping, but it's super faded out. So then if the enemy's standing right in front of me and my teammate pings them, I don't just see the ping, I can actually see the enemy standing there. So this is a really nice one for visual clutter. Enemy highlight, enable this. It highlights 5 opponents within 30 meters. If I'm not mistaken, this is more of like a digi threat type of scenario, or maybe like a highlight onto people in certain game modes. So it's not like always utilized, but it's still really, really helpful when you are inside of those game modes. This is just your kill feed. Always keep this on because you need to know if people are dying. Like for instance, all the time I hear a G7 in my ear from like across the map, and I'll see a G7 in the kill feed. And I'm like, okay, that dude just knocked this dude. We can end up pushing into this because I know at least one person's dead. Minimap rotation. This is personal preference. Personally, I keep this off in every game. I cannot stand it when my minimap is rotating when I'm turning. I think it just confuses me. If you're a brand new player to the game, I highly advise turning this off. You need to be able to notice your minimap. Your minimap is going to be your best friend when it comes to micro movements, because you need to be able to see your minimap to see all the little rocks and stuff that you can rotate into. Uh, for instance, like if you're stuck inside of a house and you can't look outside because someone's holding you, you need to be able to see, oh, can I rotate to this spot? Is there a rock over there? Can I look at my mini map real quick? Your mini map also gives you a lot of info, a lot of info. So always, I would say keep this off because it allow you to tell the general direction of the map. Weapon auto cycle on empty. Turn this off. Always sprint. Please turn this off. This is the worst setting in the video game. You are going to die so much if you have this on. Next control is your sprint control. This is personal preference. You can either have it on hold, so you have to hold down your shift key, or you have to hold in your analog stick or whatever on your controller. I set mine to press, so all I have to do is just press it once, and it will automatically start running. It's if you're wanting to start doing movement like tap strafing and stuff like that, having sprint control on press is what you're going to need it set to. If you want to be able to spam inspect your heirlooms to twirl them, you have to have this on press. You cannot have it on hold. Auto run, turn this off. Jetpack glide control, I have this on hold just because I can quickly tap, 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 tap on my keyboard and be able to go in all sorts of different directions versus toggle where you have to tap twice. Tap, 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 tap to be able to turn it on and back off, which is going to end up getting you killed. Um, Boost mantle activation. This I would just keep default as jump, your space bar, or your A button on your controller, or I think it's O on PlayStation. Mantle boost UI. For me, I keep this on minimal because I can time it properly because I know how to like super glide and stuff. If you're brand new to the game, I would probably keep this on full until you understand how to do the timing properly, and then I would put it to minimal, or even off if you want to. To be honest, I wouldn't turn it off. It's just when you turn it to minimal, all it does is show like a little tiny circle on your screen and it'll light up green. You probably won't even notice it. Um, Incoming damage feedback, 2D and 3D both. You need both of them turned on. And the reason why a lot of people will tell you, oh, you only need 2D, you only need 3D. Both is better because, for instance, 3D is going to show you in the direction and 2D will show you in which direction. So 3D will be like, oh, it's behind you. 2D is going to be pointing upwards. So you can know the dude's going to be on a higher elevation because 3D pointed backwards and 2D pointed upwards. So you know the dude's in between there. So then when you're turning around to go look at the dude, you can already start positioning your crosshair to go look more upwards. That's a huge thing that people actually don't know in this game with the damage feedback. So turn both of them on. It's only going to help you. You may think more visual clutter, but this is the good type of visual clutter because it will show you where exactly you're being shot from. Taking damage causes death boxes or crafting menu to close. Turn this off. Um, the only time where this might be useful is if you're on controller. And I say that lightly because you're going to need to armor swap. Armor swapping is one, if not the most important key mechanic in ranked and or even just in high gameplay actions in general. Because if you're in the heat of the moment and you have this turned on and you go to loot a death box and you go to grab that split pixel armor swap real quick and somebody shoots you before you can grab it, now you're kicked out of the death box and you're on 1 HP, you're just going to die because you're not going to have enough time to sit there for another second and a half to open back up that death box and then click on it again and hope that the dude doesn't shoot you while you're trying to open that death box and kill you. So turn this off. Get used to backing out of death boxes very quickly. So what you'll do, I can just show you. I'll do like a little test demonstration in the range. You just quickly hold down E, figure out where the armor is. Normally it's about right here on your screen. So you just quickly always remember where this pixel is. You know, train your mind to always go to that spot. You can go into the range. They have death boxes in there where the armors are usually going to be. You could also go in there with like a friend, kill them, and then just armor swap off their death box over and over and over. What else? Next, we have health and ammo pop-ups, health and ammo voice lines, arsenal HUDs. Just turn all this to limited or off. You really don't need any of it. To be honest, I keep these on limited instead of off because sometimes I will forget to heal or I'll get out of a big fight and I'll be running around because I was too busy looting and I forgot to heal and I'm 1 HP. And these will just be like, hey, I'm low HP. So it's really, really nice. Or it'd appear like on your screen with like text, you're in a critical state. Arsenals and HUD icons, you don't need like any of this, to be honest. I just keep it on minimal. You can zoom in if you need to be able to see them. Off-screen portraits, these are so basically if your teammates are in a different location on the map, it'll show like an icon of their face and which direction they are from you. I just keep this on because it allows me to be able to quickly turn to face where my teammates are and not have to like kind of guess where they are. Hop up, pop up, I turn this off. You don't need it on. Streamer mode, you don't need this on. You ain't that big, little bro. Anonymous mode disabled. Usage sharing, I disable this because, I mean, I don't need EA. You know, it's personal preference, but I don't care to give EA any of my data. So, performance display, you can turn this on or off. I always keep it on, but just know that if you have it on, it's gonna destroy your performance a little bit because it's another thing that's on your screen that has to change the numbers all the time. But this will just allow you to be able to see like your ping, your FPS, and things like that. I usually just keep it on. I don't see a huge impact between on and off. Communication filter, everybody, tutorial systems off. This is, I think, turned on automatically. Turn it off. Trust me, it's going to get super annoying super quick. Reticle, if you guys want to know the color that I use either a very bright lime green or I use white. They're the two best colors in the game, in my opinion, that you're able to see them very clearly on every single map in most scenarios. And they're just nice. Like right here, it kind of blends in a little bit, but to be honest with you, you probably will know where the middle of your screen is. And then for my laser sight, I just use like a hot pink. I don't know. I just like it. And then these are all just like, if you want them turned on, I just turn everything off though. And then we'll go to mouse and keyboard. You guys are mouse and keyboard fans, like me. Mouse and sensitivity, I use a 1600 DPI. And I use 8000 hertz. I'm using the Lamzu Aurora Pro or something like that. My mouse sensitivity in game is 1.35, and my iron sights or 1x's are 1.4. And you need to turn this on to be able to change that. I used to have different settings for all of these, but I can't remember. I would just keep them one. Mouse acceleration off, mouse invert off, and the clamp mouse cursor to game window, turn this on. So then you're not randomly clicking on your other monitor by accident in the middle of a game and tabbing out. Lighting effects, turn this off, it just ruins performance. If you guys want my keybinds, these keybinds will allow you to tap, strafe, wall bounce, whatever you want to do movement-wise. I'll just quickly scroll through and let you guys kind of look at everything. You'll probably question why the hell are some of his settings like this. It's just what I've been used to. And what I use in every single video game I play. I also use my keyboard at a slant. So if you wonder why like I use certain keys, for instance like ping is on N, it's because my thumb rests right near N and M and B and V and C. so I can quickly press all of those. And then for instance, like here, inventory, I use control, and my map, I use tab. And then you're like, oh, well, how do you crouch? Oh, I use my mouse thumb button, which you're like, oh, well, that's weird. Why would you ever do that? I used to use a Logitech mouse that had 3 mouse clicks, and I used the third one to crouch because when I was first learning mouse and keyboard about 5 years ago, for the life of me, I couldn't hit the control button to crouch. I tried using so many other keys, but the only thing that I found that really helped me was to use the button on my mouse, the side button, and that really like really helped me be able to get movement down to a T, because then it's always right there on my thumb, so that I know, okay, I got to crouch at this spot, crouch jump, crouch jump, crouch jump, crouch, super glide, this, that, blah blah blah. And then toggle, always had a toggle keybind. I set it to P because there's no other keybind in the game that uses P. And if you quickly need to sit somewhere, you can press it. And then I advise using crouch hold. So then if you use toggle to crouch up and down really fast, you're making 4 inputs versus 2 inputs on hold. You press in and you let go. That's 2 inputs. Toggle, press in, and then you press it again to come back up. Press in, press again. Like it's a little much. And then for move forward, I have it set to W and scroll wheel forward. This just allows me to tap strafe. I might make a tutorial in the future on how to tap strafe. Very easy. Or even super glide, tap strafe, like backwards, sideways, whatever. And then wall bouncing tutorial, stuff like that. If you guys want one of those videos, make sure to let me know down in the comments. Controller settings. Most of these I would just use 4-3 linear. None of them are going to be changed here because I haven't used controller in forever. But I would do like small movement dead zone, inverted look off, vibration off, linear for your response curve, 4-3, menu speed I'd put to about half, trigger dead zones I'd put to none, adaptive triggers on, survival slot on, aim button I'd put to hold, crouch button to hold, and then these I'll just keep the same. And then video, shouldn't need to touch anything inside of here. If anything, maybe sprint view shake, turn this to minimal. The only problem, if you change this to minimal, you're going to have to go back to your notepad thingy and you're going to have to uncheck the read only and then press apply, come here, change it, and then go back into that setting and reapply read only, so then it actually changes. But that's about the only thing you're going to need to change in here. Oh, and then FOV scaling, I'd disable this. Audio, like I said, I keep it at 50%. I don't see a difference between 50, anywhere between 50 to 100. It doesn't increase anything like at all with the EQ that I use. I use the focused mode now, 7.1 surround sound, and then this is just your microphone. You can turn this to whatever you want. Sound effects volume, 70%. Anything higher than this, I don't see a difference at all. Dialogue, I turn this down to about 40. I still keep this on. A lot of people turn this off. This is one of the most useful things in the game because your legend will literally has voice lines that tells you when there's a third party. So keep this on and make it loud enough to where you can actually hear it. Music and lobby, music volume, turn these off or low. You don't need them. I mean, you can have them up if you want, if you like the music in the game. I kind of like it sometimes. Gameplay volume while spectating, I would turn this down to like 40. You can go lower, or else you're just gonna get ear blasted and it's not gonna be fun. Emote preview sound, I would turn this on because sometimes you can hear people emoting through buildings and through walls. Sound and background, I turn this off. You can turn it on if you want to. If you tab out a lot, you can, or you're camping, like a little rat you are. But yeah, you can turn this on if you're just sitting in a building. And that's about it. So, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, like. Sorry that the video is probably going to be like 40 minutes long. But like I said, I'll have timestamps down below. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. I appreciate you guys if you have made it this far into the video. If you guys want to see more videos, just let me know. I think my next video will probably be a movement guide